Hey, it's Mark Lanier with your video thought for the day. This is 911 Emergency Week. I'm looking at different spiritual emergencies you may be experiencing and trying to give you some first responder help. So today I thought I'd talk about loneliness. Loneliness is an interesting problem because you can be lonely because you're not around people and you're all by yourself and you miss company. Or you can be around lots of people and still be lonely because you don't feel like your heart is really nestled up with someone else's. That you can be in a huge crowd and still experience loneliness, as if nobody understands you, nobody is intimately relating to you in some way. I don't know what kind of loneliness you might be experiencing, but I know that it's a common problem. Think about all the lonely songs that are out there. Only the Lonely, or Remember America, This Is For All the Lonely People by Dan Peek, thinking that life has passed them by. I think the Bee Gees had Lonely Days, Lonely Nights. Bruce Springsteen sings about Roy Orbison singing for the lonely and says, hey, that's me. And I want you only. Great song. It's Thunder Road. Wow, that's a good song. Anyway, back to the 911. So when you're feeling lonely, let me give you some first aid response. Let me suggest to you a good reading, a careful, slow reading of a well-known psalm, perhaps the most well-known of all, Psalm 23. I can remember one time when I was in Hebrew class. It was one of these classes I was taking. It was advanced Hebrew. It was Hebrew poetry. And I was the only student in there. I had this professor, Professor Miller, Mad Dog Miller, Clyde Miller, did this thing with his lips when he talked and seemed menacing, but he wasn't. He was gentle as a lamb. And so normally, and especially an upper level language class, you'd get your assignments ahead of time, you'd do your preparation, and then you'd come in to read and translate and discuss the problems in the passage. But this was the first day of class, and there wasn't a reading assignment handed out before the first day of class. And I didn't even know that I was the only one who would be in it. I thought maybe a buddy or two might be taking the class also, but no, I show up, Hebrew poetry, me and Professor Miller. Talk about lonely. Anyway, I sit down and he hands me a sheet of paper. And he says, here, I want you to translate this with me. It's a Hebrew poem. And I thought, well, I didn't have any prep for this, right? And I said to him, well, Professor Miller, I'm sorry, I didn't know that we'd have reading on the first day, and I haven't prepared anything. He says, it doesn't matter. This is advanced Hebrew. You ought to be able to translate this. You're a good student. Now translate it. Well, I start stumbling and bumbling through it. And I get about midway through the first verse, maybe all the way through, before I realize it's Psalm 23, the most well-known psalm of all. And then I zipped right through it. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. Okay, so all to say, take Psalm 23 if you're feeling lonely and read it. But read it the way I was reading it in Hebrew class that day, slowly, digesting each word. The Lord is my shepherd. Shepherds stay with their sheep. No sheep is ever lonely as long as they're with their shepherd. The shepherd's there to protect them. The shepherd's there to lead them beside still waters, to restore their soul, to tend to their illness, to take care of them, to nurture them, to be their security, to be with them. And when you're alone, you've got the assurance that Jesus, the Good Shepherd, desires to be with you. And you can be lonely and shut out from the world, or you can be in a crowd of people feeling misunderstood. It doesn't matter. The Lord is your shepherd, and he does understand you, and he is intimate with you. So what does this mean? This means I want you right now, if you're in that 911 emergency, just to do the following. Lord, I'm lonely and I feel alone. I'm going to spend time in Psalm 23, but would you come into my heart and would you touch me and minister to me and be my friend? And he will, I promise. That's your 911 emergency for when you're feeling lonely. More 911s tomorrow. God bless you.